Have you ever felt uneasy when someone came to visit, even if it was someone you cared about? You don't hate them, you don't want to offend them, yet inside there is a quiet resistance. When the doorbell rings, it feels as if some hidden part of you is being intruded upon. You smile, but your heart grows heavy because you know you are about to perform, even in your own home. Carl Jung once called this a crucial sign of inner life. The house is not merely a dwelling, it is a symbol of the soul. When someone crosses the threshold, they are not only stepping into your living room, but into the most sacred territory within you. And if your soul is already tired, already longing for silence, then every knock at the door is a reminder you are not yet fully living in your own world. This video is not just about the discomfort of having visitors. It will take you deeper. Why you need solitude, why silence is not weakness, and why withdrawing from others can sometimes be the only way to return to yourself. But the opening question remains: are you sure that the discomfort you feel when guests arrive is just a habit? Or could it be the whisper of your soul? Perhaps you've experienced this moment. Someone texts, "I'll drop by soon," and instead of excitement, you feel a quiet dread spreading through your chest. You glance around your room, not to tidy up, but to check if there is still a corner that truly belongs to you. When the guest arrives, you laugh, pour them a drink, ask polite questions. Every line of the script performed. Yet in your mind, you are counting the minutes. You want it to end quickly so you can reclaim your silence. The truth is hard to name. You feel drained even before doing anything, simply because another presence has entered your home. And this is the first symptom: invisible fatigue. No one sees your exhaustion because you are still smiling, still talking. But inside, every word feels like it drains a little more of your inner battery. The second symptom: the sense of intrusion. The house is supposed to be the place where you relax, but when someone sits on your sofa, holds the cup you always use, or walks past the half-closed door to your bedroom, it feels as though they are stepping into the sacred territory of your soul. The guest may be entirely harmless, yet the truth is you are no longer alone with yourself. The third symptom: self-doubt. You begin to blame yourself. Am I strange? Am I abnormal for not liking visitors? You worry that this resistance means you're unfriendly, that you're closing yourself off too much. But Jung once reminded us, when you feel eroded by the presence of others, this is not abnormal. It is the signal of a soul that needs clear boundaries. The problem here is not that you hate people. It is that you cannot bear to wear a mask even inside the one place that should belong to you, for you. And each time you force yourself to entertain guests, you are unconsciously betraying the part of you that is quietly whispering, "I need quiet. I need space. I need myself." Carl Jung once wrote that every human being lives in two layers: the one they show the world and the one they keep hidden inside. The outward layer he called the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted. When guests enter your home, even in your private space, you instinctively pull that mask back on. You are polite, agreeable, pleasant. But the cost of the persona is that it drains your energy. Because while you are smiling, another part of you is contracting, growing tired. That part Jung called the shadow. Not malice, not hostility, but the true feelings you don't allow yourself to express. Discomfort, the need for quiet, the longing to be alone. And when guests arrive, they unintentionally brush against that shadow. You don't lash out, but inside, a whisper rises. "I want the room empty." Again. The impulse to close the door, to withdraw, Jung linked to the archetype of the hermit. Inside each of us lives this figure, the one who longs to retreat from noise, to return inward, where the true voice of the soul can be heard. What's striking is that modern society often labels this impulse selfish, strange, antisocial. But for Jung, it is a necessary stage of the individuation journey. Only when you dare to step back can you begin to hear your own voice, to distinguish between what is truly yours and what is merely a role imposed by society. What makes so many suffer is this inner tug-of-war. The persona demands you open the door, entertain, and smile. The hermit pulls you inward, demanding silence. And you, caught in the middle, feel exhausted. But Jung warned, if you always let the persona win, you will lose your soul. The outer house will remain lit, but the inner house will turn into an abandoned building, which means the question is no longer, why don't I like having guests? But rather, do I have the courage to acknowledge the hermit within me, the part that needs stillness? In the unconscious, your house is not just four walls. It is the map of your soul. The living room is where you wear the persona, the social mask, the place where you smile and welcome others. The bedroom is intimacy, where you are most fragile and bare. The basement holds the shadow, memories, fears, fragments you have never dared to face. Each time someone enters, you are not only opening the door for them to walk through, you are granting them passage deeper into your soul. And the unconscious, sensitive as it is, immediately sounds the alarm. This is the first mechanism, defensive tension. You lift the mask, adjust your tone, and try to be the pleasant host. But as you do, your inner energy begins to drain, like a battery depleting as too many apps run at once. The second mechanism, the loop of self-betrayal. After the visit, you exhale in relief, only to scold yourself right after, why am I so strange? Why can't I be relaxed like everyone else? This loop pushes you further away from your inner voice. You sense something is wrong, but force yourself into silence to appear normal. And the third mechanism, the most dangerous, the erosion of boundaries. When you constantly open the door, constantly allow others to step in, you slowly lose the ability to distinguish what is yours from what is theirs. The house of your soul becomes cluttered, leaving no corner for you to rest. That is when you feel drained, even when no one touches you. Jung observed many patients falling into this state. Outwardly, they continued to live, to host, to socialize. But inwardly, their soul was like an abandoned house. And, at a certain point, the unconscious is forced to react. The breaking point often comes in silence. One day you wake up and realize you no longer want to open the door for anyone. Not because you hate people, but because your soul has grown too weary and it decides to lock itself. Here lies the rupture of perception. You are not resisting society. You are not abnormal. The feeling of not wanting visitors is not a sign of weakness. It is the alarm bell of the soul. It is reminding you that you need boundaries, you need emptiness, you need the house within you to be at peace. And if you've stayed with me this far, you've touched a truth most people spend their whole lives ignoring. Sometimes, the only way to return to yourself is to dare to close the door. Not to reject the world, but to protect the most unbroken part of you from intrusion. Imagine that the house you live in is not just built of brick and wood, but is a living map of your soul. Each room reflects a part of you. The living room is the persona, the mask you use to welcome guests, where everything is tidy, orderly, and bright. The bedroom is your most vulnerable and intimate space, where you can truly unwind, a place reserved only for those closest to you. The basement is the shadow, the darkness where you store what you've hidden away, memories never cleaned out. And the attic, the place you rarely climb up to, holds ideas, ambitions, and sometimes the parts of life you never managed to live. When someone enters your house, they are not merely sitting on the sofa or holding a cup of tea. They are stepping into the living symbol of who you are. For some, this is joy, but for many sensitive souls, it feels like a subtle intrusion. Even if the guest stays only in the living room, you feel the tension, as if they might move deeper, perhaps touching drawers you want to keep closed. That unease is not abnormal. It is the unconscious reminding you that the sacred territory of your soul must be protected. Jung once emphasized, the house in dreams is often the image of the soul itself. And if that house is kept open constantly, with no boundaries, you slowly lose the sense of who you are. The metaphor of the house helps us see clearly. The discomfort of visitors is not simply an introverted habit. It is a message that your soul is demanding privacy, demanding space to breathe, demanding respect for its borders. So the question is not whether you like having guests or not. The question is, do you dare to protect the house within you as something sacred? Or will you continue to let anyone walk through without knocking? If you pay attention, you'll notice how many times you've betrayed the house within you. You open the door, you smile, you make conversation. But when the guest leaves, you sit in silence, feeling as though something has drained you. You don't say it out loud, but your body raises the alarm. Tense shoulders, a heavy head, restless sleep. You blame yourself. Maybe I'm abnormal. Why do I feel so tired just from being around people? But the truth is, you haven't respected your own boundaries. Each time you dismiss that feeling, another layer of dust settles over your inner house. At first, it's only the living room, the space where you force yourself to play the role of the agreeable host. But slowly, the fatigue seeps into the bedroom, the place meant for rest. You lie down, yet your mind remains crowded with voices, with scripts of how you must bend yourself to please others. And by then, even the most sacred space is no longer intact. This is the cost. You lose the ability to distinguish between what you need and what others expect. You become the owner of the house, but with no authority in your own home. Jung once warned that if this continues too long, the soul will eventually rebel. It may surface as exhaustion, depression, or one day you may slam the door shut on everyone, wanting no contact at all. That is not the essence of being antisocial. It is the consequence of having failed, for too long, to defend your boundaries. So the question you must face in the mirror today is not, am I strange for not liking visitors? But rather, am I neglecting the house of my soul, letting it grow cluttered, just because I fear what others will think? You've grown used to believing that not wanting guests is a flaw. You've labeled yourself as distant, selfish, even abnormal. But Jung would tell you this: it is not weakness, it is simply another language of the soul. The old language, imposed by society, calls you cold. The new language, once you dare to reframe it, calls you someone who knows how to protect their own energy. When you change the words, you change the way you live. Instead of saying, I'm strange for feeling tired when people visit, try, I need silence to preserve clarity. Instead of, I'm afraid people will judge me if I say no, try, I am respecting my own boundaries. Jung called this the process of individuation. The moment you stop living as a role created to gain acceptance and begin living as a whole self. Imagine it. Every time you say no to an invitation you don't want, it is not a rejection of others. It is an agreement with yourself. Every time you close the door to protect your quiet, it is not distance. It is you dusting off the sacred rooms of your inner house. The old way called it withdrawal. The new way calls it care. And you have the right to choose which language will tell your story. The important part is this. When you reframe, the world must also change the way it sees you. Those who are accustomed to you always opening your door may be surprised, even displeased. But over time, they will come to understand that you are no longer a chair anyone can sit on. You are a sacred space that opens only to those truly worthy. And in that moment, you will witness something striking. The genuine ones will stay, and the ones who only came to drain you will quietly leave. Jung once emphasized, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You don't need to pretend to enjoy company just to prove you are normal. You only need to admit the truth. There are times when you need silence so that your soul is not invaded. That is courage, not strangeness. And when you finally dare to say to yourself, "I am not cold, I am guarding my boundaries," you will have reframed your entire life. Change does not begin with a grand revolution, but with the small steps you repeat every day. Try this first. Practice placing a sign at the door of your soul. When an invitation comes that you don't want, instead of rushing to agree, give yourself the right to say, "Let me think about it." That pause is the key that allows you to choose rather than react. Second, create a space in your home that is absolutely safe, even if it's just a small corner. It could be a chair, a candle, or a notebook. When you sit there, you know you don't need to host anyone, don't need to perform. You only need to breathe. Third, practice speaking short truths. Instead of long excuses, try sentences like, "Today I need quiet." It may feel strange at first, but with each repetition, you reclaim a piece of sovereignty. And finally, cultivate the ritual of closing the door in your mind. Before sleep, imagine yourself shutting an invisible door, leaving all the energy of others outside and keeping your soul in peace. Jung believed that a soul can only grow when its boundaries are respected, and you can begin today with small, steady gestures like these. If you continue to keep the door open without boundaries, the price will not arrive immediately. It seeps in slowly, day by day. You will begin to feel as though you are losing the sense of belonging to your own house. Each time a guest comes, you smile, but when they leave, instead of peace, you are left with emptiness. The house of your soul begins to resemble a station platform where anyone can pass through, yet the owner is never present. This is the greatest danger, becoming a stranger inside the very space that should have been your most sacred ground. Jung warned that when the soul is neglected for too long, it will eventually rebel. You may find yourself slipping into depression or growing cold to the extreme, slamming the door on everyone. But that is not true freedom. It is a desperate reaction. Yet if you dare to change, if you begin to restore boundaries, something remarkable happens. The inner house becomes clear again. You know who can step in and who must remain outside. You regain the feeling of authorship over your own life, not through aggression, but through a calm certainty. Others will sense it immediately. Your presence is no longer easy to invade, but carries a weight that commands respect. This is the quality of a mature soul, gentle yet unyielding, knowing when to open the door and when to close it. Jung once wrote, "A man who does not find security within himself will look for it in vain throughout his life." The final philosophy here is this: Solitude is not punishment, but the door through which you learn to be truly present. If you refuse to change, you will keep living in a dusty house where the light no longer finds you. But if you dare to change, you will step into a new space where every wall, every room, reflects the image you have chosen to become. One day, you will realize you no longer feel guilty for closing the door. Instead, you feel relief because you understand that silence is not escape. It is the way you return territory to your soul. Others may think you are closed off, but only you know. In that quiet, you recover the voice that was once drowned out. Jung once wrote, "The house in dreams is the image of the soul." And every time you dare to protect it, you are protecting your truest existence. This video does not ask you to withdraw from the world. It only invites you to listen when the inner doorbell rings. You may choose to open, or you may choose to let it stay silent. But the difference is that this time, you know the choice belongs to you. Before you leave, give yourself a moment of stillness. Listen closely. What does the house within you need right now? And if this journey has resonated with you, stay with us. Because ahead, there are more doors. Ones you have never opened, but that may be the very path leading you closer to who you really are.